Hi guys, welcome back. Okay, so now that things have come to fruition, let us sit back and talk about it. So, what I want you to do, picture it. Florida. You're walking through. You get your fill of some of the most oddly looking, tasting foods. You get to see two interesting shows. You're going to walk through 5 chilling zones. And on top of that, you'll go through 10, and yes, I did say 10 houses that will truly make you want to wet yourself as you're going through them. I'm talking about Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. This is Universal Studios' premiere event of the spooky season, as we all like to call it. It's a separately ticketed event. It is an after-hours event. It's really not suitable for children under the age of 13. However, we have some parents who, if your kid can handle it, cool beans, knock yourself out. I got turned on to this event last year. I just, happened to be scrolling on YouTube and was like, hey, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to Universal Studios for my birthday. Went to the event, had a fabulous time. So I have been looking forward to this since I came home last year. I have planned this out and I am so ready for the event to start. Over the course of the year, I have sat back and I have watched updates and waited for ticket sales to drop and all of that. Now, finally, we got to the part of the season around about March where they start dropping the announcements of the houses and what you're going to see and what these houses are going to be about. So, in this video today, what I'm going to do, since all of the houses have been announced, I'm going to tell you the houses that I want to see ranking from least to most anticipated. Please keep in mind, this is just my opinion, so take what I say with a grain of salt. And please know it does not mean that any of these houses are bad because we haven't seen them yet. The event doesn't start until August the 30th and it runs through November 3rd. This is just based on the snippets and podcasts of the houses that I've seen, or heard, should I say, that I've seen or heard. I'm ranking these in from least favorite to most anticipated to least anticipated. We're going to start at the bottom though, with the bottom being my, least anticipated. Again, please keep in mind, this is just my opinion. It does not necessarily mean that these are facts and that these houses suck or any of that because we haven't seen anything. After I attend the event, I'm going to come back and give you a recap of everything I saw, recap of, the houses. The rankings could change. Again, this is just my most anticipated to least anticipated. So coming in at number 10, we're going to start with Goblin's Feast. Now, I did read the podcast I did listen to the podcast, and it's basically where a village of goblins are gearing up for this magical feast, which is like their overall holiday. This seems, like cute, more cutesy than actual scary. And I'm looking for a house that's going to give me all the feels. I mean, the chills, the anxiety, the nervous tension, all of that. That's what I'm looking forward to. Again, it does not mean that this house is going to be bad. It's just based on what I've heard from the podcast. It's giving me cutesy, it may be some gore in it, but it's giving me, mild, cutesy, not too scary, but could have some jump scares in it. So we'll see how this pans out. Coming in at number 9, and I know I'm going to catch some heat from people who see this video, but I'm sorry, this is my opinion. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, if you've seen the movie, which I do intend to see the movie before I go down there, but having watched Ghostbusters from when I was like yay high as a kid, I know it was more comedy and not scary. So this would again be another like light-hearted, You know, if this is your first time attending the event or you have super anxiety about going through haunted houses, that would be one of the houses that you would start with. You know, something light, you know, something fun and funny, you know, that's not really gonna, just to kind of ease you into HHN and what all it has to offer. So coming in at number 8 is going to be Major Sweets Candy Factory. Now, I did go online, you know, after I returned last year. I got so hooked, so I started doing research on past events. And they did have a scare zone a few years ago, you know, called Sweet Revenge, which was, you know, basically from the podcast that I heard. It's basically about a gentleman who has a candy factory, and he does something to the candy that triggers the kids, turns them into murdering lunatics. Forgive me for saying it like that, you know, but that's what he turns them into. Again, this is one of those, when I heard the podcast, I'm like, okay, it's giving me twisted vibes, but not the feels that I'm looking for. It's just giving me, you know, twisted vibes. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad house, because the scare zone, from what I saw from some of the YouTubers that I watched, it looked great. The scare zone was great. You know, it was very well themed. Costumes were on point. I mean, it was really good. But when it comes to the podcast and what I'm looking for, I'm like I said, it's giving me the twisted vibes. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to go. Nonetheless, we'll move on to number 7, which is going to be Museum Deadly Exhibit. Now, this is giving me more like Night of the Museum kind of feels. So there may be some actual good scares in here, but it's basically, the gist of it is where this artifact that was in the museum has brought other things in the museum to life, and they're on a killing spree. So, I don't really know how to feel about this one. Like I said, it's giving me Night of the Museum vibes. But I'm not quite sure exactly how horrific it's going to be. It's just not giving me the feels that I want. It's not giving me the feels that I want right now. Based on the description, it's not giving me the feels that I want. Doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I'll make that judgment call when I get there. And I keep saying it doesn't mean it's going to be bad, because I don't know. I haven't been, you know, this will be the first time, you know, they put something out like this. So, I mean, this house is, you know, in construction phase right now. So I won't get to see it until towards the end of next month. But at any rate, I'm just giving you my opinion on what I want to see, you know, going from least to most. So coming in at number 6, we have Slaughter Cinema 2. And yes, I'm going to catch some flack for this one too, because Slaughter Cinema was a favorite on the year that it was released. This is part 2 of so this is like the sequel of the original. Everybody raved about the original. I never got to see the original. I only saw the video that you know, from previous years and other YouTubers. I saw the video online. It looks more like okay, you're going through and they're giving you like all of these B-rated movies with twists to them. You know, it's basically like taking the B-rated movies and bringing them to life with inside of a house. So, and I know me, I'm really critical when it comes to movies. So, I mean, these aren't, you know, mind you, these are not real movies. They're just like films, you know, stuff that Universal created to put into this house. So they've come up with a new set of B-rated movies with some twists to them that's going to scare the pants off you. So we'll see how this goes. Again, it's not giving me all the feels, but it is giving me some curiosity vibes though. I'm curious to see what they're going to put in it, you know, what kind of films are going to be, how the scares are going to be, how they're going to line this up. You know, what am I going to be walking into? So I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out. Number 5, we are going with Triplets of Terror. Now, Triplets of Terror seems more like The Strangers. Basically, with Triplets of Terror, you've been invited to a birthday party for these 3 triplets at their home. The catch to it is the birthday party that you're being invited to is actually the anniversary of the death of their parents. Now, you're in for a treat because you're the next victims on their hit list. Hence why they've invited you to their birthday party. The reason why I say it's giving me the strangest vibes, if you look at how the mask, remember in the strangers when they just walked up to these people random door and they decided to terrorize these folks in their homes, and at the end the girl was like, why did you choose us? And she said, because you were home. It was just that simple, because you were home. It's giving me the strangers vibes. If you look at the mask and how it was, how this is sort of lining up, that's what it's looking like. Like they took like the concept of the strangers and overall changed it up a bit and turned it into a haunted house. I think this one is going to be like bloody because you have a lot of mayhem, death anniversary, that sort of thing. You have a lot of, this can go a whole lot of different ways. But I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I'm really expecting this one to be super bloody. This is probably going to be one of those sleeper houses that people are not really excited about, but it's going to sneak up on them and it'd be like, whoa, this was better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm curious to see how this one's going to play out. Number 4 is going to be Monsters, the Monsters of Latin America. Now, ever since I saw the video for the Hollywood event, and they had this down in Hollywood, I've been curious and excited because when this appeared on the spec map a while back in back in March, when this appeared on the spec map and I realized it was like Central America, I was like, okay, so this could either, this could be Creature from the Black Lagoon, it could be, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. But when I was like, no, it was, I was like, this is, I was like, no, this is, I was like, nope, I think this is going to be Monstros. So basically you have these 3, it's a twist on old folklore of the Latin American community. So you're taking like their old folklores and their legends and bringing them to life. So you have, and I know I am going to mess up these names. You have the Harbinger, I'm calling him the Harbinger of Death because I think his name is Le Morte. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. If I'm not, I apologize in advance. He's your guide, as you going through this house. And you're walking through getting, you're going to run into a gentleman, El Cebon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. La Chuza. And the other one whose name I forgot. But basically each one of these monsters has their own legend, their own story, their own, thing going on. And you're going through this house. You're walking through all of, you're walking through like all of their folklore, their kills, how they're, everything. I'm excited about this one because I like the house from last year that I saw on YouTube. This one gave me the feel. So when they had made the announcement that this one was coming to the event, I was on 10 for this. 10. I was excited about this. I am so looking forward to seeing this house. They did some amazing things down in Hollywood, and I'm curious to see how they're going to redo this, because even though it's those same 3 Latin American legends, the house is going to be different from Hollywood. It'll be the same 3 monsters with a different storyline, a different house setup, different victims, and all of that. So I'm curious to see what the new storyline is going to be, what the monsters are going to look like, how they're going to put this together to make it different from what we already saw in Hollywood. So we'll see how this one works out. On number 3, I have Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. Now last year when I went to this event, the Universal Monster House was the one that gave me all the feels, all the scares. I caught every last scare going through that house. Phantom of the Opera was king. You are the man. He was everywhere in that house. Everywhere. Every corner you turn. If you look to the left, he came to the right. If you walked straight, he jumped out at you. He was everywhere through that house. Not to mention you had the Invisible Man, you had the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but Phantom of the Opera was everywhere in that house. So I'm really looking forward to this. Pretty much the backstory for this one is that you have Saskia Van Helsing and the Bride of Frankenstein have teamed up to go against Dracula's daughter, and she has recruited the She-Wolf of London as well as Anaxanamun. So you're going to see this epic battle between these 5 women, or 5 entities, so to speak. You're going to see this epic battle going on between these women or these entities inside of this house to see who will reign supreme. I am so looking forward to this, not because it's just an all-female house, but even though girls rule, but I want to see the storyline and how this is going to play out. Because I've seen, Van Helsing, come on. That battle between him and Dracula was just, hey. And to know that you're continuing on Dracula's daughter versus Van Helsing's daughter. Come on. It's the age old, we going to battle it out to see who going to stay on top. While you trying to bring me down, I'm trying to bring you down too. They had a house some years ago, a few years ago, where it was the Bride of Frankenstein who was battling it out against Dracula's, I want to say it was Dracula's wives? I think it was Dracula's wives. Yeah. Battling against Dracula's wives to see who reigns supreme. So now we fast forward. Now again, the bride is back because she's sick of these other chicks and we're not going to let them take over. And Saskia Van Helsing is like, no, I'm going to knock you off and keep this simple. While on the other retrospect of that, you have Dracula's daughter who's like, no, I want my revenge because you killed my dad. So I'm coming for you. I want to see how this is going to play out. I think this house is going to be super good. Again, it's ranked in my top 3. I fully anticipate this house is probably going to come out to be my number 1. If it's anything like it was last year, this is going to be my favorite house. At least I hope it will be my favorite house. It's not to say that the rest of them are, bad. But again, I fully expect this house to come with the story, the gore, the feelings, the anxiety, all of it. I want all the scares. I expect this house to be on top tier level. Really. But again, I'll see how it goes when I get there. Number 2 is Insidious the Further. To my understanding, this is going to be, it's from the description I read, it sounds like it's going to be a compilation of all the Insidious movies roped together into one. So I'm curious to see how this is going to be. I have to go back. I got to do some homework and go back and rewatch all the Insidious movies, and the new ones that have come out. Because as of to date, I think I saw the first and the second, but it's been some years since those were out. So I need to go back and rebrush up on the Insidious movies and watch going forward. I am really excited about this one. Because those first 2 movies that I watched, when they first came out, whoo, man, yeah, those were good. I wish I had saw them at the show, but I didn't. I wish I'd seen them, in the theater, but I didn't. Redbox rental, what can I say? But they were good. They were really good. I would have loved to seen them at the movies. So I'm expecting this one to give you a lot of scares. Stuff that's, have you on edge going through the house from the time you walk in to the time you walk out. And even after you walked out, you're still like, oh my God. That's what I'm looking for with this house. I fully expect this one to be another knock it out of the park house. Which brings us to my most favorite. My most anticipated house. And when I tell you I am a fan of this movie series. However, just because I didn't like the last one, I'm not gonna say I didn't like it. It just ranks at the bottom of my, list with these movies in the series. I'm looking so forward to this house because I loved the first two movies. They were so on point. The storyline was great. Also, I like the fact that they're using, ASL in this. This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. If you don't know what I'm referring to, it's A Quiet Place. Now, if you've seen this movie, you know that in the movie there's no lines. There's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of action, but there are no lines. They're talking through sign language because the premise of this in this house is supposed to be based on the first and the second movie, but not day one that just recently came out. The premise behind this is that they're going to recreate part one and part two and mesh them together to put them into one haunted house. So you're going to be walking through the farm where, they all lived, going through, they need to have that scene, the car scene. It was where the kids were in the car. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Those kids were in the car and the thing was just like on top of them because they were in the car, and all that. I'm curious to see how they're going to use ASL to get through this, because this is one of those houses where you're supposed to be quiet going through the house. Otherwise, the monsters will get you because they have supersonic hearing. So this is going to be one of those, because we know good and well we're not going to be quiet. But if they do this right and the way I think they're going to, I can just imagine you walking through this house and then all of a sudden you walk and there's this 12-foot tall thing standing there in front of you and you can't make a sound in order to get past him. Giving me all the feels, all the anxiety. Yes, I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. I'm looking forward to this one. Really, 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 really. So that is my list in order of rankings from 10 to 1. Please keep in mind, even though I know I said this at the beginning of the video, please, please, please keep in mind, these are just my rankings from least anticipated to most anticipated. Does not necessarily mean that these houses are bad because we haven't seen them yet. They're still in the production phase right now. However, like I said, once I attend the event and I have walked through all the houses, I will come back and redo this and give you actual rankings from which house I liked least to which house I liked the most. Again, these are just my opinions. Don't take this. Please take this with a grain of salt. Don't take it, but please take what I say with a grain of salt. You go out, you do, you review the houses and you come up with your own hype list to see which ones you like most or which ones you want to see most versus which ones you want to see least. So you come up with your own rankings about how you want to do it, So again, thanks for tuning in and I hope to see you guys in the next one.